Hello and welcome to another episode of the CUFI Weekly. And this week I want to share a quote with you, and I want you to take a moment to try and guess where this was said. So the quote is this: "We have to destroy the idea of America in our heads, in our neighbors' heads, in our comrades' heads, in everybody's heads in this country. We live in an evil country." Now I know the last part makes it clear that it was in the United States, but if I hadn't said the end part about in everybody's heads in this country, we live in an evil country, you could have assumed this was said in Tehran. You could have said this was said in North Korea. You could have assumed that this was said in Russia. But no, this was said over the weekend in Detroit, Michigan.
From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
That the political structures that I have to work in, that we all are surrounded by, was built on slavery and genocide and rape and oppression.
Because the second annual People's Conference on Palestine was held, and it was full of the same anti-Semitic, anti-Zionist, and anti-American rhetoric. Now, some of the things that happened at this conference, which are all documented, are hugely disturbing. You had one speaker, a representative of the so-called Doctors Against Genocide, saying that Zionists had to be neutralized wherever they were, be it in Tel Aviv, in Washington, in Europe. Now, this is particularly disturbing when you think just a few months ago, 2 Israelis were murdered by a terrorist, essentially, coming out of a Jewish event in Washington, D.C. But this was openly said from the stage in Detroit at this conference. You had the mayor of Richmond, California, saying that if he was there, he would have probably joined Hamas. People praised Hamas, made justifications for a genocidal group which has the blood of Israelis, Palestinians, and Americans, and many others on its hands. What we are seeing in the United States right now is an insidious project looking to destroy the United States from its very foundations. When people are openly advocating that we need to destroy the idea of America, that we need to destroy what this country represents, that we live in an evil country, the level of ignorance and willful hatred that you need to have in your heart to say something like that is shocking to me. Has America made missteps? Of course. Will it continue to? Yes. Will it continue to long in the future? Of course, because every nation does. But to call us evil, when you have what is going on in Syria, when you have North Korea, when you have so many evil regimes, so many countries which have oppressed and suppressed the rights of their people for decades, if not centuries, people using the freedoms of America to call America evil, to undermine America's foundations. How many so-called experts and commentators talk about Jewish influence in America, Israeli influence in America? They're trying to do this to America, they're trying to do that to America with not a single shred of evidence. They will take the most obscure reference, tie it in knots, and then try and present it as some sort of cast iron theory when all it is recycled anti-Semitic garbage. Yet here you have people openly calling for the death of those who support Israel. You have people actively calling for the destruction of the United States and what we represent. Yet you're silent on that. While most of us were taking a moment to rest, recuperate, spend with loved ones, or taking a break over the Labor Day weekend in Detroit, Michigan, we saw a full-on hate fest, and it's barely registering anything in mainstream media. Somebody called for the end of the United States. They called the United States an evil country while fully exploiting the freedoms that it offers. You had elected members of Congress there. America, we have a problem. And this is much bigger than Israel. And we've always said it's much bigger than Israel. What starts with the Jews doesn't end with the Jews. And now you have people praising Hamas, people praising terrorism, encouraging violence, if we are not going to stand up and speak out against those people who are justifying the actions of a terrorist group who murdered 1,200 people on October 7th and has murdered so many before, it's not a huge stretch to see these same people then justifying terrorism against the United States. It's not a huge stretch to see these same people justifying and propagating the idea that the United States is somehow evil. It is every single one of our responsibilities to speak up against this. Because as we've always said, what starts with the Jews doesn't end with the Jews. And we are right here in the crosshairs of this evil ideology. And it is up to every single one of us to speak out. Because what is at stake is what sort of country we will leave to our children and grandchildren. This is Kasim Hafeez for the CUFI Weekly. For Zion's sake, do not remain silent.
Thanks for checking out this episode. Be sure to like and subscribe so you get a notification every time a new episode hits. And if you want to check out some of our previous episodes, and we've got some really good ones, click on one of the thumbnails and that will take you right there. And finally, if you want to know more about CUFI and the work we do, go to cufi.org to check out all the resources we have available free to you.